listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. What? Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. Lineage go back to U.S. Southern plantations. Penniage, Jim Crow, and mass incarceration. Redline and lynchings. We are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG the wise one. Cousin mother intellectual. Samantha bringing fire. Anti-black, we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country. To win, you need our energy. You gon' see. Listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.
Back to Reset Race. Well, I hope it's welcome back for you anyway. This is Reset Race podcast where we discuss race, ethnicity, nationality, all these different groupings of people, especially black people who descend from slaves here in the United States of America, which everybody on the panel is. ADOS, you can call it ADOS. You can call us what is the other one? DOAS.
Descendants of America. Descendants of United States chattel slaves.
Descendants of
United States.
Whatever it is, if you descend from slaves that were slaves here in the United States, that's who we is. That's our grouping. All right. So I'm Michael Graham. You can catch me at my writing at Actify Press. You can catch some of my old stuff at progressivearmy.com. You can't tweet me anymore because Twitter bounced me again. So you can email me at actifypress@gmail.com if you got anything nasty to say. Just don't call me names because I'm sensitive. And now I'm gonna let my our illustrious panel introduce themselves, and we do ladies first around here because we cool like that. Sam.
What's up? So I'm Samantha Angelique. You can find me on Twitter. I started a new one. It's at me 27 trillion. I'm probably gonna switch over to that.
You get more expensive every time.
Oh hell yeah! No, I'm telling you, I wanted to go higher, but I've been trying not to scare off the white folks. So yeah, the longer you take, the more money this will keep going. Especially like the highest number somebody quoted was like 6 quadrillion or something like that. God, so y'all better get these cheap rates before we actually start doing the numbers.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I also run We Will Not Suffer in Silence.org, and that's it, and that's all. Like let's get it in.
All right. And we're gonna resetrace.org eventually. All right. So Mud, let's go, baby.
Yeah, they call me Mud. You can catch me on Twitter at Of Lineage. I'm also on YouTube, Bitter Dose TV. One word. I go after lefties. It's like a solo mission. Right now, I'm dealing with the blackface issue.
All right, that should be a good one. All right, John.
Yeah, what's up, man? This is John C. You can follow me on Twitter at John Denny OC. You want to? Just here to advocate for my people. I don't know why I'm here, but fuck it. We back at the grill. We back at Chapo Trap House. That's funny. That's funny. Their podcast is called Chapo Trap House. They love our culture, huh? Let's see how they love our culture, but they're
as corny as they can be.
They love some Chapo Trap House, but don't like reparations. Huh? That's all right. Let's go get them. Let's go get these motherfuckers.
Yeah, we'll go get them. This podcast was so overrated to me. It wasn't funny. It wasn't enlightening. It was just a bunch of white folks talking to each other, which is boring. All right, so in
That's
this
what I
episode,
got from it.
yeah, in this episode of Chapo Trap House, they're talking about Dr. Robin DiAngelo and White Fragility, her book and her work, her life's work, which is excellent, by the way. All right, so let's get this out the way. Buy the book or just watch a video of her on. If you know anything about race in America, and you watch one of her videos, you'd be like, what is wrong with these people? Why don't they understand this? This is logical. This is based in science and history. What else do you want her to do? You know, that's, I guess, you know, white folks getting in their feelings, but we'll tackle that in a minute. All right. That was that. That's the end of our long introduction. All right, Sam, let's ride.
So we're coming to you today. We, like the rest of the country, have been, experiencing a moment of protest and crisis, still reverberating out from the murder of George List. It is a book called White Fragility by an author called Robin DiAngelo. And, I thought, hey, I'm white, I'm fragile. It's
I'm a small
maybe
bean.
we should check this out.
I'm a small, soft,
I'm a
fragile
small
bean.
bean. Yeah.
White
You are.
Fragility
You're
was the
yellow.
working title of our book.
I'll just say, to join us to discuss White Fragility and what to do, how to talk, how to think, we're joined by our friend Jen Pan, who you may remember from the Joker episode, which was, let's be honest, the film about white fragility. And
White male rage, as SNL put it.
And of course, back from his sojourn among the Philistines, it is our colleague Virgil Texas.
Thanks for having me.
And me as well.
So we all read like a chunk of this book. I did the beginning, but like before we get into what's in the book, like what do we make overall about like this this concept of not just white fragility, but like this moment of these sort of prescriptions for like how to be a white ally, like how to think and how to talk about these things, and like this whole slate of, like you said, like homework that's been assigned to the country.
So, for my part, the context in which I encountered white fragility is a few months ago. I was assigned to review it for the New Republic in sort of the broader context of the diversity industry, which, you guys are probably aware is this like
All right, Sam,
massive, bloated $8 billion industry, which sort of encompasses like
All right, this is one of my biggest beefs with this whole white fragility jihad that the lefties went on when this happened. We'll go more into what I believe the roots of it are later. But when did lefties start caring about how rich corporations spend their money? When did that matter to them? This is that whole angle is stupid to me. It's absolutely stupid. But they'll at the same time they'll quickly say police need more training. But you mad at corporations spending money on this stuff? All right, that was just a foul angle to me. It was just, again, another excuse just to keep white folks from getting in their feelings. Anybody got anything on that?
No.
All right,
Sounds good to me.
all right, let's ride.
racist trainings, sensitivity workshops, like cultural competency, implicit bias training. And that is, incidentally, the industry in which this author of White Fragility, Robin DiAngelo, works, right? And so I think that, a kind of interesting component to the conversation is the fact that there's kind of been this, emerging body of literature that talks about how these diversity trainings don't work. They don't reduce people's biases. They don't really make workplaces more diverse. And in some weird cases, they even like make people's biases stronger. So I think that's kind of important to keep in mind when you are thinking about, Robin DiAngelo and White Fragility, and how her book is basically a documentation of how these trainings don't work, right?
All right. Hey, hold on, stop.
She
stop.
is a
Sorry,
diversity
Sam.
trainer, right? And her case studies in this book.
So all this stuff backfiring is actually proof that she's correct. All right. The fact that talking about these issues makes people angry and makes them and create some sort of backlash. I haven't seen the evidence of it. I'll look that up at a later date. But that's just proof of white fragility. That means it's even more important that we tackle it. Okay. Anybody got anybody else got anything? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, basically how they're talking about her whole book is basically talking about how this training doesn't work. But the whole book is her using as a case study to show that, like, yeah, you guys do have biases and you get triggered. Sorry, you get triggered when we try to have these conversations with you. Again, I'll let him talk more, but I find it funny because I had been following Robin DiAngelo's lectures before her book came out. So I literally bought her book as soon as it dropped. So I find it hilarious because I actually liked the book. And the book actually gave me more empathy for white people. And it's funny. It's funny that white people are having such a visceral reaction to it. But I'm like, she's right. So Black people who read the book say she's right, and all you white people are saying she's wrong.
And all you and white adjacent people, yeah. Yep. John.
All right.
Oh yeah, man. Y'all
Thanks,
right. Just, yeah, for sure, Sam. But yeah, y'all both right, man. Just prove how fragile it is. And we know, like, once they get farther into this segment, they're gonna start talking about what it's really about. It's about Black and white racism. You know what I mean? That's why the POC shit is bullshit. But and you know, and they're gonna get into, like what I always say, when they get down to some real specific shit about Black people and have white people, we call white people out on their shit. It's a neoliberal conspiracy. But it's a liberal conspiracy to talk about racism. So all right, we got
conspiracy. Yeah, absolutely.
The neolibs.
Mud, what you got? Nice shot.
It's shocking that, you know, we've had this racism problem for 400 years, but, you know, they have an expectation that this woman is going to solve all of it. She's going to fix American society within the training. No, she's diagnosing a problem and just pointing it out to, like, make people aware. Like, that's the whole point.
Absolutely, the whole point. Which ironically, these white folks responding to a book called White Fragility with White Fragility. The irony is not lost on me.
Fragile as
all right, Sam, go ahead. Sorry, folks.
Book is she goes around to people's workplaces and to their schools and talks to them about racism. And her whole thesis is that white people in the room become extremely uncomfortable. They don't like what they're hearing, and they don't react well to her. So maybe that's, you know, a way to kind of kick off like what it is that she's getting at.
I think too, one of the things that like kept jumping out at me when I was reading this is that she kept saying, like, I cannot correct or deprogram my unconscious bias and feelings of racial superiority. I will always be like this. I will always, you know, walk around with, you know, latent white supremacy. And I'm like, then why am I listening to you? Like, why are you the anti-racist trainer?
Because you have to acknowledge the fact that you have racism in you for you to check it. If you don't see the microaggressions and the things that you do as being racist, how can you fix it? All the woman is saying is, due to how she was raised and how she moves through this world as a white woman, that she has to check herself to make sure that she doesn't do or say things that are racist. Y'all people do this all the time. We work with y'all. Y'all don't even understand the things that y'all say and do in the workplace that is uncomfortable and creates a hostile work environment for Black people.
And the science is clear. The science on bias has been clear for decades. You know, and to think that suddenly this book is the problem, as if her calling out a problem is the problem. This is much like the Ann Coulter. We praised Ann Coulter a couple of shows ago, but a couple of recordings ago. I don't know when you guys are gonna hear that. But Ann Coulter, that was her thing. People calling out racism are racist, right? You're the one talking about race, therefore you're the racist. This is the lefty version of that, right? So I mean, this is just the left and the right ganging up against us, which is pretty standard. America. Yeah. Mud, what you got, baby?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, they're acting like this bias thing is just some shit that we're pushing on the white people. No, we have this shit too.
Yeah,
like, Black people
absolutely.
have internalized this shit too because of the way this society is designed to brainwash all of us with white supremacy. Like, Like this has been an issue that, you know, has been studied, like you said. So they're just full of shit.
Facts. Absolutely facts. So yeah, I'm sorry. Anybody else got anything? I'm sorry. I've lost track of everything. We good? That's right.
Because she, like, every other paragraph, she's like, look, I know about racism. Take it from me, a racist. She doesn't do a very good job at justifying her anti-racist credentials, except that she can charge people $10,000 a speaking session for it. I mean, like, for like a 2-hour, like, it's better than podcast.
But the gag is they never mention that Robin DiAngelo takes her white woman self and her white privilege into these white corporations and demands that money and splits it with Negroes that she works with. Okay? So how many of you white podcasters are marching Black people in and getting them a check? Because she's splitting her checks with Black people. It's not like she got an all-white staff. Like, she works with Black people.
Yeah. And this is akin to that, you know, calling everybody you disagree with is a grifter. Everybody you disagree with who's making money is a grifter. All right. She's in a corporate space. Why do you care how much corporations are paying this woman? Right. Like I was saying before, why do you care why do you suddenly care how this woman makes her money? Right. Is it what she's saying that bothers you, or what she's saying about you that bothers you, or the fact that she's making money, or the fact that she's right and people are listening? Which one bothers you more? And we have to, and I was going to tackle this later, but I'm going to tackle it now because I'm an asshole. All this happened at the same time reparations was getting traction, right? People were realizing after George Floyd, people were realizing, okay, here we are again. Nothing is getting better. That happened under Obama. We're under Trump now. No matter what happens, it seems like nothing's getting better for Black people. We have to reflect. That's why this book was selling so well. People wanted to self-reflect, and that's the only way to get rid of racism, right? Is people self-reflecting, because culture will keep pushing it on you every day. So you've got to self-reflect. There's no other way to beat it, right? Now, if people have power, you can keep people from acting on that racism, right? The racism that's getting pushed in them all the time, right? You can de-incentivize actions taken based on race, right? But to get rid of racism, individuals have to self-reflect, especially individuals in power, like in corporations, because that's where all the power is in this country, in corporations. So just tossing that out there is a logical point. Anybody got anything on that?
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think y'all right. I think it's funny as hell that like they so triggered. Like you said earlier, MG, you was like, this is like the right and the left wing really agreeing with each other. But the right wing, they'll say this is bullshit because there's no racism. Stop talking about race. And the left wing is saying this is bullshit. Stop talking. It's really class. But they come from the same anti-Black subconscious. You feel me? They real ego. Where the fuck we call that shit? That's deep in their soul. Like that's why they just like why? That shit funny as hell to see these motherfuckers cry. That shit funny. You can sound like, oh, these motherfuckers on some bullshit, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mud, what you got?
Well, to your point about them tripping about them getting the money from like corporations and shit, if we are going to be pissed off about people's sources of money, when are we going to start having a conversation about people who have been enriched off of white supremacy?
Oh, that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point, Bud. Wow. That's an excellent point. Yeah, I mean, what do you say? Go ahead, Bud. Continue.
No, I'm just saying, like, if we start talking to these motherfuckers about like their families and where their families got money from,
and where these corporations got money to pay her from, our exploitation, yeah, absolutely.
Money, and whether or not they should have that fucking money, they'll switch up their tone at that point. It'll be a completely different story.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all I got.
All right, Sam, let's ride. Please.
Faster money, the hourly rate. It's amazing.
Yeah, and if you're never done being racist, then all you can do to work on yourself is, kind of participate in these steps of self-improvement, which of course include buying her book and attending her seminars.
Right.
I mean,
there's no cure. There's a treatment you have to take all the time, always, and keep paying her.
I mean, I guess what was like,
Yes, because you guys are racist. Listen, even the best of white people, a lot of times y'all say some racist shit because we live in a racist country. Like shit, I was a kid in the 90s. Like I had friends in the 2000s. Like we stopped being friends because I was like, the shit you say, I'm gonna have to slap the shit out of you. And it wasn't that they were bad people. They just fucking don't know no better. Like now they're better because it's 2020 and it's a different world and you can't say crazy shit like that no more.
Unless you want to get your back dirty, yeah.
But back in the day, people just used to say some wild stuff. So here we are in a moment and it's just like, no, you guys do make microaggressions. Like this is my whole thing. I'm so tired of white people thinking that they're not racist. A lot of you guys are. It's just that simple. Like even like Mud was saying, even Black people have prejudices that we have to work through. And then on top of that, not only do we have the prejudices that are programmed in us through racism, the thing that makes through society, the thing that makes a Black woman squirm or clutch her purse when a big Black man walks into the elevator versus feel like, oh, I'm with my people.
I'm glad it's you, bro. My 401k is safe.
Versus feeling secure, right?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Feeling scared versus feeling secure. Like I live in a Black neighborhood. When I walk around my neighborhood, when I see Black people walking around, I'm not afraid. But 15 years ago, that would have been a different kind of situation for me. So I had to unlearn that as a Black person. As a Black person who's experienced a lot of racism from white women, I have to consciously work on not hating all white women and not thinking that they're all evil because of a few instances that have happened in my life. So if I have to do that as a Black person, why do you think as a white person living in a world and culture that has taught you that Black people aren't worth anything and they don't matter, why would you think that you're above it? Especially a lot of y'all grew up in all white places. You didn't even know Black people growing up. And you might have known one or two, but they weren't your everyday average Black people. Because people who grew up with me, I wasn't an everyday ordinary Black as a child. So you couldn't be like, well, my friend Sam, you can't compare Sam at 10, 12, 13 to average everyday Negroes. It was a very different life. I was living that same suburban life with y'all. So I couldn't speak for people who I didn't know. But let's get back to this. Anybody else got something to say?
Mud, go ahead.
Yeah, this shit, like I go back to this shit being like centuries in the making. Like what are you guys talking about? Like it took centuries to create this society and to develop the ways we understand race in this country. You think you're just gonna like turn that around within because you feel like you're not a racist, you just turning that around and changing the whole like development of this country? Like and it reminds me, like a lot of times we get compared to like the Irish or the Italians, and it's like, yeah, you guys had some bigotry against those motherfuckers, but you resolved that shit in the 1800s. Like it's not like you guys had some anti-Black shit for one lifetime and then it was cool, and then we got to this point and we still acting like there's some issue. Like, nah, this shit has been continuous. So like it's going to take more than just you saying that you're not a racist. It's like we gotta really train our society to be, anti-racist.
Yep. John, what you got? I'm sorry, Mud, you done?
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, y'all right, man. Well, this shit, these motherfuckers, like, and further, like, once they get further along, you're gonna see what they about to do. You about to see what the anti-Black lefties always do when it come to race. They always, what they really gonna say is what could fix this is not starting talking about how I could change myself and how it was really deeply embedded into the country and that we had to have these conversations. They're gonna be like, no, they talking about this because Negroes really need a Medicare card. That sounds good. That's good. And the
That'll fix
Medicare card
everything.
is going to fix everything. And then they need a $15 an hour job, and that's it. That's how you fix it. This is what I don't want to talk about. Crying and shit like that.
I don't want to
Fucking always.
I
self-reflect.
cannot.
Word
I
up, man. Come
cannot.
on, dude.
Yeah, all these years our people had to work for less money and they still talk about we need to just go get a job. No, you need to give me back the wages that my people didn't get. And
Yeah.
For sure.
let's just keep going through because we only 5 minutes in.
Well,
we can talk more about this in a minute.
Yeah, let me finish this point real quick. One point I people need to understand is that okay, racism is poured, like Sam was saying, it's poured into us through society, through media, through everything around us. Is racism is being poured into us. And think about this from a psychological standpoint. Who goes to therapy one day and is fixed? You know what I mean? You sit in with a therapist, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit and talk to my therapist for about 5 minutes, and I'm good. How does that doesn't happen with any other thing in our lives, right?
Makes no sense.
It takes years to sort through psychological bullshit that gets put on you by your parents, by society, and everything else, right? It takes years to get there. And these people are acting like, well, this whole racism thing is really no big deal. Therefore, we don't need this book. But again, think about this from a psychological standpoint. All right, let's go. Sorry, Sam.
You good?
Like sort of weird to me about this moment and the required reading as represented here by Robin DiAngelo and White Fragility is that, you know, if we're in a moment where white people are just, you know, once again perpetually being like, damn, there's a lot of racism in this country, that's fucked up, like, you know, why what can I do? It's just like, it would seem to me if you wanted to educate yourself, like maybe read a fucking history book. You know what I mean? Like read any history of the United States, like or any like actually like black author who's written about like this. But like this.
Go ahead, Sam. You're a historian. Go ahead.
No, but he said go read any history book or go read any book written by a black author. Plenty of history books don't talk about black issues in it, period.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of books written by a black author, that's not specific enough. Mm-mm. Like black authors write all types of books. We write fiction. So what you're saying is you should read a book written by a black person about race. Because nowhere have you said that you
don't read. I was just thinking that.
I about to call in.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like nowhere have they said that you should go educate
don't read
yourself
Adolph Reed. Just put that out there. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Sam.
By reading books about race, they're just like, oh, you should just go read a history book or go read a book written by a black author. Like the thing that irritates me about this is Robin DiAngelo has a full fucking reading list on her website, right?
She sure does.
And a lot of those books, this is her first book. You understand what I'm saying? So she's giving you all these other books to read. So you, magic white person, just know which authors to go and start reading without getting any help from anybody who can guide you.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, but this is the whole thing. Well, if you want to educate yourself as a white person, yes, you could get on Google or YouTube and start typing in some stuff. And then from there, you'll get some ideas of where to watch some books and stuff like this. But she wrote a book to help with that. So you're literally downplaying her for writing a book when you're like, well, somebody could just go and read another book. But they're reading this white woman's book. So something about her
was striking a chord. Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas a lot of these books written by black people, y'all ain't never been interested to open and read.
Mm-hmm.
So if it takes a white woman to tell you should go read black authors for you to go read them, I'll take it.
I'll take it every day of the week, twice on Sundays. Absolutely. And to your point, Sam, this is part of the hustle, right? This is part of the, this is part of this, and all of them did it. Everybody on this jihad against white fragility, they did it. They offered alternatives as if that's just as good, right? The point is this book was effective and it was correct, and they didn't want the correction. That's the problem. They don't want people thinking correctly about race, right? That's the point. So they offer these other books, and not even offering a book. It's just some random, read anybody else but this white lady, right? Everybody else but this white lady, the white lady that all these black people say is correct. You know what I mean? So don't listen to her. Listen to anybody else, right? We just don't want people to make this correction in their lives. even though it's critical for race relations in this country and the future of this nation. But I'm sorry, go ahead, John. What you got?
Yeah, man. They talking about, yeah, it's just like they talking about, let's go read the history book. Like, like to understand slavery. Basically, this white lady is writing about how white anti-black racism is internalized. She's focusing on the workplace, but how it's internalized in the present day, and how it's shown by present day white people. And they reading about themselves and they mad. like she talking about y'all and shit. Like, you feel me? Like, you don't need to read about no slave owner that was beating, Negroes on the back with a whip in 1866. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you already know that happened. Like, you feel me? Like, you trying to avoid it. You trying to avoid like the reality of today. That's why it's so effective. That's why they so triggered by this shit, because she writing from a perspective of how it's effective today in society.
Yep.
Not you ain't got to read 1965. You ain't got to read that shit. You know what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you know what happened. You might need to read it, but this ain't got nothing to do with that. So that's what I just found funny. So.
Yeah, but if you're going to read something about history from a black person, read Gerald Horne. But go ahead, even though he is on some Pan-African shit. But Mud, what you got?
I'm gonna go left. I'm actually gonna agree with them.
What?
But instead of like reading a black author about race, turn off Chapo Trap House when they're talking about race, and race, so you can listen to some black people talk about race. Like,
yeah, we're here now. We got you.
If that's the solution, stop listening to these white people talk about it and start listening to black people.
Yep, and this is yeah. Go ahead, Mud. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
Nah, that's basically it. Like, fuck it. If that's the answer, then they shouldn't be talking about this.
Absolutely,
absolutely. Should leave this topic alone.
Yep. And well, I'll talk more about it. Privileged kids in a minute. Go ahead, Sam.
This is a white woman, and like the whole thrust of it is through this kind of like corporate HR model, where like every sort of like field of inquiry or sort of tension that she's unpacking here is all like I'm just imagining sitting in like a windowless air conditioned room with a big whiteboard with someone like pointing at me, and
she does a lot of hypotheticals that not hypotheticals. She does a lot of anecdotes that I'm like, oh, come on. Like,
yeah, at another place in the book, she says something like, I just can't understand why these white people would react like this upon getting an opportunity to learn about their racism. And that opportunity, of course, as you pointed out, Will, is in the workplace, which, of course, is something that she never bothers to not only just interrogate, but doesn't even acknowledge that, the context in which these trainings are unfolding is quite often, in her case, in the workplace, where, as we all know, there are many different power dynamics already at work. The main one, of course, being between the bosses who...
Here we go with the class shit.
They about to do it. They about to do it. They about to do
There
it.
it goes.
They about to do it,
Sam.
All right, my bad, Sam. Get him, Sam.
I think we can get to it, but I'm gonna let him go. Okay.
Organize such workshops, and then everyone else who has to attend.
Yeah, it's mandatory. The idea, why aren't you being open to me, the person that your fucking asshole boss paid to yell at you for an hour?
Does she actually never address that?
Never.
No.
Like, not once. She never.
So, first of all, why is she allegedly yelling at people? Where has she ever said that she yells at people?
They feel like they're being yelled at.
Like for real. So first of all, you feel like people talking to you about race is being yelled at. Oh, you're at work.
Being yelled at, yeah.
Oh yeah. So first of all, it's funny that y'all think that somebody talking to you about race is yelling at you, because you automatically are upset that you.
No
have
other
to
corporate
talk about
training
race.
is yelling, yeah.
Yes, and it's funny because of the fact that like then they're like, but you're at work, and who wants to have to talk about race at work? As if we are not suffering racism and microaggressions from white people in our jobs all the time. It's not just you white people. Your people of color cohorts are an issue too. So
they sure are.
Like,
you can hear them on the show.
The last W-2 job I had when I was working at the dealership, I had this Mexican boss, and I told him, I said, you got one more time to say something disrespectful about my people, and everybody in here gonna think that I hate Mexicans. because you are so out of line. You are so
Bro,
out
don't
of
go for
line
that
and
shit.
so
Fuck that.
disrespectful, and you don't know my history. So I'm not gonna let you keep talking about my people. So this comes from all of y'all. Like I had my white slave owner boss, which the reason why I call him slave owner is because his daddy got hired there and he brought in his like 28-year-old son. So the only reason he got that job was because his daddy gave it to him. And then he was all sniffing around me, but I wasn't interested. And then got in his feelings one day. It was like, oh, Sam, I always thought that you were funny. No, I always thought that you were pretty, but I didn't know that you were smart. And I'm like, fool, you said you haven't read a book since high school. You don't get your mediocre white ass out my face. Like, you only have your job here because your daddy got you this job. Like, get out of my face.
Man,
and then had the nerve to tell the black man, no, then had the nerve to tell the black man that I was working with that, oh, well, I have a hot wife and I own a house and I have my shit together. Your daddy has been selling cars longer than you've been alive. So you basically got to jump into your daddy's coattails. He gets you jobs. You get to use his network and his connection. And you get to look at a black man who descends from slaves and tell him that he should be doing better. I wanted to slap the shit out of that white man. I really did. I told him too. I told him too. I said, listen, I was like, you got one more time to come. Listen, if we would have had a decent HR around that motherfucker, I would have had everybody fired because that shit, I actually ended up leaving that job because I got tired of their bullshit. Like the racism was just ridiculous, especially because when I came in, I was hired under an all black, like it was mainly black people in charge. There was one white guy. So it was all black people in charge with one white guy. And then I went on vacation and came back and it was a bunch of white people and it turned into a whole big thing. So whereas I used to like my job, now when I go to work, I'm stressed out. I'm frustrated because I got all these fucking racist white people talking to me and treating me crazy.
Nobody deserves that.
Fucked up. Fucking pale-faced devils, you know. Lucky I wasn't there. I would have body slammed one. I'm like, who the fuck you what? What you say to say?
Especially that Mexican dude looking like straight fucking Penguin, looking like Danny DeVito and Penguin. And you had the nerve to sit here and be talking about me and my people all the time. Like, I need you to get out my face. Nothing's worse than a racist who likes to fuck black chicks. Like that irritates the shit out of me. Like, you don't like me or my people, but you steady sniffing around me. Like, get your
don't do it to him.
Go ahead, Big John. Thank you, Sam.
Oh nah, yeah, because you see that? I told you they about to do it. They about to do it. They were like, yo, see that? That is the relationship between the worker and the boss. They about to do it. And my whole thing is like, do you understand the fucking pressure that a black CEO that works like, if I mean that works in the majority white cut, the type of fucking hurdles he has to go through every day to maintain his position?
All three of them.
Shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All three of those CEOs in corporate America.
All three of them. I think it's probably two. One of them probably Nigerian. Who knows? Like the other one probably Caribbean. That's a different story. But but it's still though, even just being black though in the high position, yo, this motherfucking managers at Wendy's. That's if you're a black manager at Wendy's and you can't do, and you're a black man or a black woman, you know that you can't do like, man, these motherfuckers is doing some bullshit. That's all I got to say. They doing some bullshit. They know what they doing. It's anti-black bullshit.
Absolutely. Mud. Thanks, John.
Well, I mean, from the perspective of like somebody that's worked at different companies, and usually the racial training that we get is just we watch like some random video from the 80s.
Yeah.
But when someone like this is brought in, it's because an incident went down. So
that's true. She's putting out a fire. Yeah.
Yeah, she's coming in because some shit went awry and they're trying to smooth everything out. So what they're saying is that they don't want that. They just want us to be uncomfortable on the job, essentially, and like just have to put up with the bullshit.
Yeah, they want to be comfortable making us uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's it, Mud?
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, thanks, Mud. Hey, and for me, you've heard the phrase before, but this is a good example of what's called poisoning the well. All right. He's actually framing this training which is, as we've discussed, which is important to race relations in the United States, period, not just in corporate America. He's framing this training as something being inflicted upon the workers by the boss, right? Poisoning the well, meaning that whatever's being imposed upon them cannot possibly be something that they need in their lives, right? Which is the point of this framing. This framing is foul. It really is foul. But again, we got to remember the timing here. Reparations was getting traction, and Bernie wasn't going for it, and these lefties had to find a way to make it and people on the left were listening and wondering why Bernie wasn't going for it. Right. So these folks, it was them, the Chapo Trap House, Matt Taibbi, Kyle Kalinske. All these folks got together, and you can't tell me they did not collude with this and went after this book and this woman. All right, continue. Sam, please.
It mentions that like this is a mandatory school assembly where your employer is now being invited to like interrogate the most intimate parts of like your psyche and brain and experience.
Right. About a very politically charged topic. Like, who the fuck wants their boss talking to them about racism?
Yeah,
I don't.
You guys give me some information that certainly will not be put in your file for later use.
Right.
Yeah, you will not.
Whoa. This is a training. Number one, they brought in an
Racism
expert.
doesn't exist at work. You didn't know, NG? All the time you thought that you were experiencing racism since you older than all of us, and I know you've been working since you was a kid. So all these years that you felt that you experienced racism at your job, that was a lie. Because there's no racism at work. So you don't have to have jobs. You don't have to have trainings about racism. So let's do this thing. So this whole conversation that they're having right now, I want them to have that same conversation about sexual harassment seminars and
anti-Semitism and all this other stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we shouldn't have any more anti-sexual harassment seminars at work, any trainings anymore at work, because nobody wants to talk about their intimate sexual harassing.
But these sessions, the only thing that goes on the record from these sessions is the fact that you went, right?
That's
present. That's all that goes on the record. Who the fuck listens to these people? This is bullshit. It's bullshit. John, what you got, John?
Nah, see that they about to go into it, talking about race relations at work. This is the goal of the oligarchs, to get your mind off the prize that he's controlling you because you're talking about and that's it. It's like, yo, bro, you really that triggered that you have to go, a bunch of shit, that almost training videos, you got to talk about people stealing at the job, or you got to talk about sexual harassment, like what you do, somebody robbed the job, all this bullshit you got to watch.
Run, hide, fight,
fire alarm drill, somebody coming in, like, come on, like, now you feel me, like, this is one thing, like, yo, maybe you should think about how you treat black people at the job. Come on, man, it's a fucking worker, man, it's workers in the boss. Talking about this shit, goddamn oligarchy, get the fuck out of here with this bullshit, man. The fuck is this shit, man? This shit horrible.
It is horrible. All right, thanks, John. Mud, what you got, Bud?
Didn't I already go?
Oh, you did? I'm sorry. I'm so confused. This video is confusing me. My bad. Sam, you got anything before we move on?
No, I'm gonna go and keep listening to white people. So this is funny. So we make fun of y'all, and I want y'all to know, because this does sound like a bunch of white people and an Asian man sitting in a room having a conversation talking about black people. And you guys obviously don't know any real black people. And people get mad at me when I say, they're like, I have a black friend. People be like, I have a black friend, and a black friend be like Doja Cat or Adolph Reed Jr. Talk about I see clean Negroes everywhere. What's that Larry Eldridge Jr. dude who be talking about
Larry Elder?
Yeah, those be your black friends. Clyburn be your black friend. Uncle Ruckus be your black friend. And you don't even understand, like, y'all have the most anti-black American black friend. My my friend agrees with me. So
yeah, that's because if he didn't agree with you, he wouldn't be your friend anymore. Because you exile people who don't think like you. That's one of the things about white privilege and black people being locked out of spaces is that you get to easily curate these people. Just want to put that out there.
And that's why they just get to go around saying the most wild and stupid stuff. And then when they hear a black person, they be like, well, I've never heard, because you don't talk to us. Y'all don't talk to us. Y'all don't know us. And I've said this before. As a black person, I have to know everything about you, your history, your mannerisms, your temperament. As a white person, you have to know nothing about me. And it shows up every day when we have to interact with you.
Every day. Every damn day.
Again, you can go.
No, I'm gonna look for it
again.
first. I'm gonna look for it first. I know which video we did, but I'm gonna look for it first. Save us some work.
Matt,
but
all right, like Mr. Burns. All right, go ahead.
That shit was hilarious.
That too. At one point, she apparently made a joke about. Also, I get the impression she is very weird around black people.
Oh, she has to be.
And
how could she not be?
The subtext of this book too that they never mention is that she's talking about black people. Like, she says people of color, but she's not talking about like the Ho Chunk of Wisconsin or the Hmong of fucking Minnesota. She is talking about black people who, you know, have advanced.
That part is true. That's the only thing.
Yes.
No, that is true. She is talking about black people. And that's the only thing that perturbed me about the book is that she uses people of color all the time. But she is an academic. And also I had talked to one of my white ladies, you know, who's one of my ally reparationists. And she was like, it's hard for people to break using people of color and African American because those have been taught to people as the correct
terms,
and respectful terms. So we're having to unteach people, like, no, say black when you mean black.
Of color. We change our name every 50 years. I mean, it is what it is. You know,
I would like to be changed to American Descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. Even though I miss the old term, but you know, I don't want nobody to get mad, so I'm not gonna say it. But to be honest, at this point I'd rather be Negro than be African American, because when you say Negro, you know who we're talking about, because y'all weren't here in the 60s. So when you said Negro, if you were talking about a non-Negro, it was the 0.01% of Caribbeans that were here.
What Sam is alluding to, if you don't know, most non descendant of American slaves here in the United States, most black people that came here, came after the 1967 immigration bill. That's when things kind of opened up for people, for non-white people to come to the United States.
And most of the Africans came in the 80s. As Sam says, came during Cosby. Yeah, came when the Cosby Show started.
Your family came here after Cosby. There's no way you can claim you deserve the same things that we who have been here for centuries deserve. So I mean, that's not even reasonable by any standard. All right, Mud, what you got? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said we got to be careful with Negro, though, because they're going to try to claim that it's a Spanish word. Therefore, we got to include, like, they're going to try to play a tricky game with that one, too.
I don't, we ain't never going back to being Negroes, but I was just saying that as a point of, like, I'm tired of all these other names. Any person who uses BIPOC, I automatically don't trust you. As soon as you say BIPOC, that's why I don't trust that Cori Bush chick. She getting a little bit better, but when that heifer was talking about slavery, it was like BIPOC has always been exploited in this country. Bitch, don't talk about slavery and then say BIPOC. Because if you do, I need to see the pictures of the Latinos and the Asians in the slave fields next to us getting hit by whips. I need to see the pictures of them hanging in trees. Like, quit playing
regularly.
Me. Yeah. Quit playing me. Okay. And if you want to talk about discrimination that was happening in the late 1800s about Chinese, that's a whole different discussion. But most of these Chinese people here right now do not descend from those people. Unlike Americans who descend from slavery. There's 42 million Black people in this country. 36 million of them descend from slavery. So quit trying to play us like we not the original people who've been here forever. And when I say the original people, I mean we have been here forever. And we are still the largest ethnic group. Latinos are not an ethnic group. They are a bunch of ethnicities that come from all over the world. So
they happen to speak a Spanish or a derivative of Spanish in their country.
Exactly. So the next largest ethnicity in this country still is Black Americans who descend from slavery. Period. Y'all just keep trying to pull like that Latino shit is the same thing that they did with white, right? So before y'all were German, y'all were Irish, but then they put y'all all into one category so you could keep outnumbering us. And that's what they're doing with Latinos. Now they're putting them all in one category so they can, well, they're going to be the biggest voting block, so we have to start catering to them, but they're not a block.
They don't vote as a block.
They're not an ethnicity. They're a bunch of different ethnicities.
There's no shared fate.
To play us.
No, as Irony says, there's no shared fate. We have a shared fate. Therefore, we end up voting very, very monolithically. As much as we hate to say that, we do vote. We do vote. 80 to 90% in the same direction, which makes us a very powerful voting bloc. So, which is wild to me because the left could have scooped us up a long time ago if they weren't bullshitting.
But they just don't care about us either. Like
they don't. They really don't.
The left uses us, and they've used us for a very long time, and we finally just caught on.
Yeah, but I think part of it is, I want to discuss this anyway. Sorry, folks, give me a minute here. I firmly believe that there's a group of young privileged people that are intentionally fighting to take over the left to keep it from giving us true justice, right? You got and it's a multicultural coalition, but you'll notice that there's only one or two voices on the left that are somewhat elevated that are ADOS, right? So there's there's Ben Dixon, there's Tim Black, Jamal Thomas, who else? Nico House, right?
Yeah, I don't know. We don't know Viedos. I don't know Viedos.
But I don't know. Yeah, we don't know for
sure. I don't know.
Well, he's a little odd, but that doesn't mean he's not ADOS. But of them, the only one that's that pushes reparations is Tim Black, right? That I've heard. Right. The only one that's really fighting for reparations and has had Dr. Darity on his platform is Tim Black. Right. So you have to understand it. And even in these organizations like DSA and all these other organizations, there are no radical Black people. There are no radical Black people fighting for, sorry to say, the reality is fighting for Medicare for all that everybody else in the world has. Right, everybody else in the developed world has, even in some of the undeveloped countries have some sort of universal health care. Right, fighting for that is not radical. It's not radical. It's not radical at all. It's fighting that you're playing catch up. Right.
Preach. Every fucking thing that Bernie Sanders was fighting for was not radical. All that shit is basic shit in Europe. Free college, free healthcare. That $15 now, I don't know what their minimum wage is, but they do make sure that their people make enough money to support themselves. All that shit was basic. I said that from the gate. Like, he was not a revolutionary. He was not radical. And you knew that because as soon as you said reparations, he turned his fucking head. And if he was really radical, he would have been pushing wealth redistribution.
Yep. And I think we need to, and it needs to be, we need to be clear about who is running these organizations. If they're not, if they claim to be radical or claim to be fighting for what is right, and they're skipping reparations, you need to ask them why, right? Because all I see is all these privileged white kids and POC kids from Cenk Uygur. I can call them kids; they're all kids to me. We got Cenk Uygur, you got Anna Kasparian, who are Matt Taibbi, Kyle Kulinski. It goes on and on and on, and all of them say the exact same things, right? Almost all of them say the exact same things. The only I forgot about my man from Eunice Report. Mike Figueroa, right? He has talked. He was kind enough to invite me on his show to talk about reparations, right? But everybody else, is fighting for what everybody in Europe already has. Even Greece, which is falling apart, still has these programs, right? So what you people are calling radical is nonsense, really. It really is nonsense, right? The developed world has all these things already, right? And as Sam has said before, is that the leaving us on the bottom undermines your moving forward, right? They use us to keep you down. I mean, it's just the way America works. All right. So that's why I say, like I said, there's a group of young privileged kids that have, have taken their privilege and their position and used it to become the leading lights on the left. Like when I watched Chapo Trap House grow in their early days, and I didn't do the research, but I guarantee every one of these kids is privileged. Every one of these people are privileged. And I guarantee that somebody's dad or somebody's mom is sitting somewhere high up in politics or somewhere in the corporate ladder or in media. I guarantee you, right? Or they went to an elite school where they have connections that help this show rise. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Right? And do the research. Matter of fact, somebody prove me wrong. If you listen to the sound of my voice, prove me wrong. All right. So yeah, let's go on. I'm sorry, Mud, you have anything?
Nah, I'm good. Go ahead.
All right. John, you good? You good, John?
Yeah, I'm good. All
right.
Let's go get them.
All right, Sam, you good?
Advanced degrees and like it's
it's
just like a very weird thing. It's a Black People Please Like Me book.
Shut up,
but
Negro.
Like at one point she talks about being on a team doing an interview for a new web developer. The web developer is Black, and the other two women on the team. She's never, by the way, clear about who's hiring who is the boss in this, who is anyone superior. That is apparently not relevant information.
Hold on, hey, stop. They did it. Oh shit. She really see that? She's trying to see what they trying to do. They're trying to basically downplay race. They're doing anti-Black class reduction. It came out because now she's talking about. Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What this woman is talking about is saying like, well, I guess the author is writing about a situation where they had a web company as a Black woman and two white or non-Black people with them, and how they may make this Black woman feel uncomfortable or comfortable. And she's trying to conflate it like, well, what if the Black woman is the boss though? I'm like, she really, what she had to do to the type of abuse she had to do to become the boss of a web company. What the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, you understand what she got to deal with every day by her white, even the people that's lower than her can say all types of shit to her. If she just get angry one time, oh damn, see, I knew it. Tanisha, oh wow, Tanisha is out of control. She told me to sit down and do my job. You know what I'm saying? Like, girls, like, what the fuck is? My bad, y'all go ahead, man. But they doing it. It's our Black class reduction. But all right, I'm out.
Yeah, it's you're right. I mean, you're right, John. I mean, it's everything. They do it all. They keep doing it. They trying to turn a problem about race and make it about class to help their project. And in the end, we still end up on the bottom. I mean, it's real. All right. Anybody else got anything on that?
Nah.
Sam?
And she said, well, look, here's what we do. We do these anti-racist trainings. So that's what it is. And the woman was like giving her like a survey and saying like, what do you want from my services? Because, I need information from you. And she's like, look, we do these anti-racist trainings. She's like, and people don't respond well to them. She cannot stop saying that enough. She's just like, look, I'm bad at my job. Nobody likes me. I make people cry and angry all the time.
But they don't punch me because they'd get fired if they did. So it must be working.
Yes, exactly. And at another point, like she said, and one of the people that we gave these trainings to recently, for example, was asked not to come back. She doesn't say fired. She said they were asked not to come back. And then she said he was scared of so-and-so's hair, and it was like a woman who had like box braids or something.
He went to an anti-racist farm upstate.
Yeah. And the
all right,
she tries to make sort of a joke.
Sam, please.
To this woman that
again, here we go again with the white fragility is this whole thing is crazy, but I'm going to give you a whole bunch of samples of how white fragility works, right? So again, they do it every time we do a show. They make the case for us, right? But the problem is the people listening don't hear the case because they don't understand these games that they're playing. or they choose not to understand the games that they're playing. All right. Just want to drop that in there. Anybody else?
Hey, Sam, you got something, sis?
Sam,
No,
Bud?
I'm good. Like I said, they just keep saying the same stupid shit. Like, it's just, you can tell it's a bunch of white people who have never had an honest conversation with a black person, and not black, like they talk about black people, not black people you work with. Because if I'm at work and a white person comes to me and starts asking me about how I feel about how white people treat me at work, I'm not having that conversation with you at work.
No, because
So
you got to
these
give
are
them I can be
conversations-
fired.
You understand what I'm saying? So these
Yeah,
are
you become
conversations that if you had a real black friend, you could have, but y'all don't have real black friends. And this is real talk, because a lot of these black people that are around you that you call a friend aren't your friends. How many of these people do you invite over to your home? How many of these people do you really spend time with? How many people do you talk to on the phone regularly? You understand what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times what you call a black friend, y'all ain't friends like that. Just because y'all might meet up at the club and hang out for a little bit and have some drinks, that's not the same thing as them telling you, like, do these people talk to you about what's going on with their family when their financial situation's fucked up? That's what friends do. You understand what I'm saying? Like, y'all, no. So that's it. They just saying a bunch of stupid, like I said, it's just a bunch of the same stupid stuff. It's just like, oh my God, work. Oh my God, racism. Ugh, how dare her.
Yeah, let me pick it back on that for a second, Sam. One of the things that people need to be aware of, especially you white folks, is when you're in the workplace, you're constantly being tested, right? You don't realize it. I mean, white people don't realize that we're going through it unless you're the one doing the testing, right? If something's going on in the street, white people will ask you questions about something going on with black people out in the street. They're going to come ask you questions about what's going on to gauge how you feel about these things, right? And if you say something that they don't like, you get marked as a problematic Negro, right?
Yes, angry Negro.
And you guys, you may think that's silly, but it's true. You get marked as a problematic Negro, and as soon as it's time to start cutting people, guess whose name gets pushed to the top of the list? Because you're a problem. You're not a team player, right? You may not have changed any of your behavior at work. You may be the best worker out there, but because you have these attitudes, right, you become a problematic Negro, and you have to go first chance they get, because you may poison these other Negroes, right? And white people do it all the time. Yes, on the left, you do it all the time, right? Black people around you know that they cannot talk about these issues if they want to stay in these circles, right? They know it, right? And it is what it is. Bud, what you got?
Shit, I don't really got shit. I just think it's funny how they keep trying to make it seem like when she says white people are going to be uncomfortable about this situation, they're trying to make it seem like she's saying that she's bad at her job. And that's
she's being honest. Yeah,
it's about
them.
You're the problem here.
No, but you gotta wait. But you gotta wait. They got a whole section where they talk about how this should actually make you feel good, not feel bad.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
I'll wait. I'll save my thought. Let's go ahead and play.
Oh, good God.
But you on point, but yeah, roast them when they get to that point, because they have the nerve to say that talking to white people about race should make them feel good and not feel bad, as if you guys are not triggered. Okay.
Go ahead.
She just met, and she's like, yeah, they were scared of her hair. You know how you guys have different hair, and like the woman like later points out this makes her. She says to another person that this made her uncomfortable. She's like, I don't know you. You've not been invited to the cookout. We don't have that kind of relationship. And she does a big thing where
the cookout is officially dead. The cookout is officially dead. That's all I have to say. The cookout is officially dead. There are no more fucking cookouts.
No more cookouts, motherfucker.
And like anything else, once y'all adopt the language, it's dead. There are no more cookouts.
There's cookouts, there's just no more invitations.
For anybody.
Right.
Because everybody who got an invitation be fucking up. That Michael Rappaport racist motherfucker. Like, I have a black wife. You still say racist, disrespectful ass shit that should get you popped in the mouth. The other one with the black wife, the one who just did the thing. I don't know what is it. Owen, what is his name? That other fool. Like, yeah, no more invites to the
Gary
cookout.
Owen.
Yeah,
Gary Owen.
yeah.
Oh,
y'all just, y'all get
we got. Hold on.
yourself.
Hold on. We got time out. We have a comment on our last show from the Inner Mind's Eye. I think I know who that is. Instead of ripping on Adolph Reed, why don't you invite the man on your show and debate him? Worried y'all don't have the intellectual fortitude to argue your standpoints. He got the wrong show. He got the wrong show. Oh, he got the wrong show.
Oh shit! Hey, don't Reed can come on. Quickly, he come on. He come on if you want to come on. What you talk about?
In that video, how Adolph Reed don't want to debate nobody.
Yeah.
We literally said that in the video. If Adolph Reed want to debate, we'll call Darity. He can debate Darity.
I'm saying that's what I
from
want to set up.
intellectual to intellectual. Like,
Ooh,
I'm not, even though Mud could debate Adolph Reed in his sleep, fucking scratching his balls. But I would rather Darity do it so Darity could really embarrass his ass. That's so funny. Instead of talking about invite him on, why would we invite that fucker on? And Adolph Reed ain't coming on our show because he know that we see through his dumb ass. Everything he said was stupid. I wasn't even impressed by Adolph Reed. I was like, I was feeling like fucking Killmonger. Is this your king?
Exactly. Is this
your
king?
Bring on? Yo, they mad as hell. They was like, they destroyed my Pokemon. Nah, they destroyed our Pokemon. We destroyed that motherfucker. I had to talk to him like a man. Man, they killed my Pokemon. They killed them. Oh no, I gotta get another Pokemon. Because that was our go-to guy. Every time I started to get real blackity black, oh no, it's all about class. It's all about class. See that? He tore his ass up. Now you talking about, man, get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. Sam, you could tell everybody on here. I don't even want to talk to Uncle Reed. I don't want to talk to Uncle Reed.
We done with that
guy. I can cook his ass too. I'll give him some smoke. I got an associate's degree. I'll give him some smoke. The fuck you talking about?
Because it's not interesting. Everything he said was a lie. Like, there wasn't really a lot to debate. He didn't use any real numbers. He didn't use any charts. We used real charts and numbers. Like, what more do you want? I literally, in that video, the charts in that video, it shows what all the numbers are. Like, what is there to debate?
But notice
like that he sees clean Negroes. So should I go up and down the streets of Watts and take pictures of the people that I see walking around with matted up hair and no shoes? So I can be like, well, I don't. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He didn't bring any real points. He didn't bring anything real to the discussion.
Nope, he
just got away with that because he was sitting in a friendly room of white people.
Hey, you know what? Let's have a Negro meeting about that comment.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that for sure.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry, Sam. I'm gonna give you a point to mark. All right, let's go. Sorry, folks. I had that.
It's all good. No worries.
She atones and she pulls the woman aside and she's like, I would like to apologize and work through the racism that I did to you. Would you be amenable to that? And again, she never mentions if this woman is her employer or not, but they think she is. I think she is. I think she is her inferior. So she's not going to be like, no, bitch, leave me alone.
Well, even if she wasn't inferior, like there's a certain level which you have to humor people in a workplace, and all of this stuff is built in the premise of we all have to get along, and the way we're going to get along is if we're all afraid of getting fired at any moment. We should treat life like we are under the watch of HR at all the times.
Oh, motherfucker.
So please replace race with sex, right? So we should no longer talk about sexism or sexual harassment because we don't want people to be worried about at any moment getting fired for doing anything. I'm pretty sure that's what people were saying in the 50s, 60s, or in the 70s when shit started changing in the workplace. Because we all watch, I don't know if y'all watch Mad Men, but in the 50s and 60s, they could just run around and grab ass, grab titties. You might get raped, and it is what it is. Like,
it's just part of the job. Yeah,
exactly.
These folks protecting white privilege like a motherfucker, ain't they? We gotta reserve something from our privilege.
Taibbi said the same thing. Like, absolutely. People just sitting around getting fired for being racist.
This is completely coordinated. This is completely coordinated by the left. Completely coordinated by the left.
And the gag is, yes, you should get fired because you're creating a hostile work environment. The same way if you were harassing the gay or lesbian or trans person in your office, you would be fired because it creates a hostile work environment.
Yeah.
The same way if you were pushing up on Susie or Diane and making her feel uncomfortable, you would get fired. Why do you think that you can sit around and treat Negroes like shit at work? Well, because this is how it's always been. But it's a problem. And you guys don't even understand how big of a turnoff it is to work in corporate America to have to deal with y'all. Like Black people literally like end up having like depression and like health problems. All of this comes from working with y'all a lot of the time.
And honestly, it's intentional. They want us to feel uncomfortable because they don't want us around. They want to be able to make things toxic, and so we leave so they can hire their buddy, right? They don't think we belong there anyway. That's what all this shit is rooted in.
Yep.
It's crazy because the beginning of that clip, she was talking about how she did racism to the Black woman and then apologized, but that was like unreasonable to them. Like,
yes.
Like, hey, you're supposed to apologize, motherfucker. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yep.
They racist as hell. They anti-Black than a motherfucker. They're in Chapo Trap House. Chapo Trap House.
That's the gang. Oh, you mad at her because she said some shit that was not okay. It's not okay for you guys to sit around and comment on Black women's hair all the time. It's not okay for you to fucking touch our hair. Like, it's not okay. It's not. So for her to make a comment that was insensitive and for her to go and apologize and be a good person about it, it should not be a problem. Like, you people are sick. Like, could you imagine if a man would have been like, I made a joke and it made my coworker Diane uncomfortable. She felt like it was a sexual joke. So I went and apologized to her for making her feel uncomfortable. Could you imagine people being like, why did he go and apologize to Diane?
So these folks are the madmen of race, huh?
Is Diane her boss though? Is he the worker? Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's all these arguments come from the same poison ass tree. They got together and decided that this book was getting too much traction, and they want to fight people. This is the quote unquote left. These are privileged luminaries on the left that grew up in privilege and curated the Black folks around them very carefully, and now they want to decide what's race and what racism is and how it should be fixed, and when they have no fucking clue.
You know, white people, you don't get to tell us what's racist. I'm so tired of people telling us what's racist. Like, I had a white woman. First of all, she jumped in my thread. Well, she jumped in the thread that I was in. So I posted this video, this white woman out here who owns like a shop, and you know, they're really going through it here. Like, they're about to close down the outdoor dining again. So she had built like this whole outdoor patio. Everything's perfectly spaced. And she's just crying because she was like, they tell me that I have to do this because this is safe. And then she pans to the right and you see where they have like a whole parking lot set up for the studio. Tables stacked one next to each other. She's like, but this is safe, right? So I posted it, and this Black guy was like, I bet she doesn't even know, she's not even for reparations. And me, I slid in, I was like, I meet a lot of white people who are for it. They just, don't think it's going to happen. So they don't find it, they're not willing to fight for it because they don't see it as a priority. And I was like, but whether she believes in reparations or not,
she's right.
Her and her family don't deserve to lose everything because Americans should have a standard of living. So this white woman jumps in there and was like, why would she? We never owned slaves and we never had. And I said,
God, here we go.
No, but I don't even play that game no more. I said, but your parents and your grandparents were participated in Jim Crow and or segregation policy, which was in the North and in the South. So your people participated in it and you profited.
Excellent talking point, Sam. Excellent talking point. That's an excellent talking point.
And she said, my parents didn't participate. I said, how old are you? I said, unless your parents got here in the 70s, there's no way to get around that. She didn't have nothing to say. She was just like, oh no, she was like, you're being racist. No, she was like, no, when I said it, she said, don't put your racist thing. How is history racist?
Because it's America.
My mother was born during Jim Crow segregation. My grandmother was born during Jim Crow segregation.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother grew up, became an adult, and had a child during Jim Crow segregation. So
my great grandmother was born into slavery.
Huh?
Yep. My great grandmother was born into slavery.
Exactly. So that's the gag. So when they say that, I'm like, no, you are not absolved, because unless you just got here, and if you just got here in the 70s, you really should shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't have nothing to say about that. Like, no, I didn't participate. Yes, you did, because most of y'all come from these white only towns, these sundown towns. Like, you think that was by accident, that there was barely any black people where you grew up? That was by design. But like I said, I get tired of arguing with these idiots. And I told her, I was like, you're disrespectful. I was like, you're sitting here commenting on something that you've obviously read nothing, done no research, and you're trying to tell me that I'm wrong. I was like, that's disrespectful as fuck, and you can get the fuck out my timeline.
Hey, I gotta go, folks. Hold on.
Well, I dragged the shit out of her, and then I did a few retweets, and ADOS came and started nipping at that ass. So she finally blocked me after a while, but fuck her.
That was another fire episode of Reset Race. Hope you enjoyed it. Please come back for the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks.
Listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race, you're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them, put them back on the grill again. We grilling them, put them back on the grill again. We grilling them, back on the grill again. We grilling them, You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake. Lineage go back to U.S. Southern plantations. Lineage, Jim Crow, and mass incarceration. Redlining lynchings. We are old from this nation. You're not about justice if you ain't for reparations. MG the wise one. Cousin mother intellectual. Samantha bringing fire. Anti-black, we pressing you. No permanent friends and no permanent enemies. The backbone of the country. To win, you need our energy. You gon' see. Listening to Reset Race. You now tuned in to Reset Race. You're listening to Reset Race. You're now tuned in to Reset Race. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Put them back on the grill again. We grilling them. Back on the grill again. We grilling them. You're listening to Reset Race. ADOS need reparations to make America great. You're tuned in to Reset Race. We no longer starving while others eat off our plate. No. You're listening to Reset Race. We focused on our justice claim. We know what is at stake. You're tuned in to Reset Race. You'll find out who really about justice and really who fake.